What's up, everybody? So this is Marcus with Codify, and I'm going to show you guys how to make an analog clock with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So this is what it'll look like. You'll have 3 hands, and our seconds are going to do their thing. Minutes will change, and hours will change as well. So I'm going to refresh this, and let's go ahead and get started with our HTML. So we're not going to have too much in our HTML. We're going to have a div for the clock, and then we're just going to have divs for each one of the hands. So let's go ahead and get started with that. Class clock. We'll give our overall clock the class of clock, and then each hand will have 2 classes. So we'll have one class of hand, and the other class will be the name of the hand. So this will be seconds. And then we'll just copy those and change seconds to minutes. And the third one will be hours. Okay, cool. So if we go back and refresh, we still not see anything. So let's add some CSS to this. So in our CSS, we'll go clock, and let's give that some styling. So you can style yours however you'd like. I'm going to just go ahead and get started on whatever I want to do. Border, F1, PX, solid, black. I usually like to add borders to my elements, just so I can see where the elements are, and then later on go back and delete that border. So I'm going to give mine a height of 500 px, a width of 500 px, border radius of 50%. So let's see what we get here. Cool. So we get a perfect circle. That's exactly what we want. Let's go ahead and add a few more things here. So we are going to want our hands to be centered inside of here. Let's just go ahead. Actually, we'll go margin 0 auto, and what that does is it centers our element in the page. And then I'm going to give my clock here a padding of 1%. And I also want to just kind of throw this one in there. You don't have to do this, but I'm going to give the box shadow 1px, 1px, 10px, 10px, and we'll do black. Okay, it's cool. We have a nice looking circle right here. And so let's now go ahead and create our hands for our clock. I'm gonna write this one here. Did I call it hands or hand? Hand. We're gonna leave that one blank for right now, and then let's do seconds, minutes, and hours. Okay, so with this I want to get some styling in here. So let's go ahead and give each one a height of 1 pixel. Height's not too important right here. I'm going to give them a border bottom of, let's see, 240 pixels, solid red, and we'll also give it a width. For the seconds, let's do 5 pixels. So let's see what that looks like. So there we have our seconds hand. Let's go down and do our minutes hand. I'm just going to copy this. We'll slim down. So the border bottom is going to be, that's kind of the whole length of that. And for the minutes, let's go down to 200 pixels, change the color to blue so we can see it, and I'm going to make it a little bit thicker than the seconds hand, so All right, there's our minutes hand. And then for hours, we'll do the same thing. Let's give it like a width of like 190 and make it a little bit fatter, and we'll give it 10 pixels. Change the color to yellow. All right, cool. So we have our 3 hands right there. And now we want to get these hands inside and kind of centered in our clock. And so one way to do that is by using display flex. And with the flex we can also use, so just to show you what that will do. Display flex kind of brings them all right next to each other. And then we want to align our items in the middle. Hasn't turned anything yet. And then we're going to justify the content and we'll say center. So this just took some playing around with properties on W3 Schools to see how to get our hands centered. So now that we have all of our hands inside of our clock, you can notice that they're still staggered from one another, and I want them to all be on top of each other. So one thing we could do here is we could use position absolute on the class of hand, and remember hand is applied to every single div here. So instead of going to each one of these and putting the characteristics for hand, I just made a class to apply to all of the hands. And the first property here, I'm going to use position absolute, and as you can see, that places all of the hands right on top of one another. But you could see here they're not all at the same point, and I want all of my hands to start from down here at the bottom. I'm going to try one thing really quick. Let's see if that'll do anything. Nope. Okay. We're going to continue with this kind of brute force way here. So we have to move our hours hand down and our minutes hand down. We're going to leave our seconds hand the same, but for our minutes hand, let's go ahead and move that down. We'll move it down from the top, and I'm just going to come up with, let's just say 50 pixels, and see how far that gets us. Cool, so our minutes hand moved down a little bit. Let's go down a little bit more. We'll go like 53. Let's see if that gets us there. 53, not quite. Let's go 55, 57. 57, almost made it. 59, how close are we now? And I guess we might as well just do 60. Okay, so our minutes and second hands are both laying at the same point at the bottom in the center of the clock, and now we're going to move our hours hand down. So let's just do like 120. Let's see, top 120. And so the top is kind of related to the position absolute. So we positioned all of the hands absolute, and now we're just moving them down from the top. So we just, oops, what did I do here? Oh, pixels. All right. And so that moved our hours hand down a little too much. Let's try 90. I think I overshot that. Okay, it brings us up a little bit. I want to make sure that we're right on the center. Let's just go 60 again and see how far that gets us. 60. All right, let's go 70. All right, looks like we're right about there. I just want to make sure I'm right on it. So I'm going to kind of backtrack just a little bit. We'll get 65, let's go 69. All right, so 70 is our lucky number there. Again, there's probably more than one way to do this. This is just how I'm doing this right now for this example. But we have all of our hands centered right now, and they're in the place that we want them to be. And so next, let's add some JavaScript so we can get these hands to tick and move around. So in our JavaScript, we're going to have to use the date constructor function. And so let's go ahead and set up a function, and we'll call it interval. And all right, so this can be called anything. We can call it time, we can call it clock. I like to call it interval because it makes me kind of intuitively feel out that this function is going to be responsible for our movement or for our time. And so let's start off with the date constructor, and we'll just set a new variable equal to new date. And since it's a constructor function, the D is going to be capitalized in date. And we want to get hours. We'll get seconds. Seconds equals to, actually I'm going to keep things simple. Seconds equals to date dot get seconds. Alright. And this date here refers to this date. So really quick, let me just show you guys. If we console.log date, then we call our function. Alright, so I'm going to go into our console and we're going to see what that is. Cool. So this is date here. It gives us, this is what the date constructor will return for you. Notice here we have the day, the month, the date, the year, and here's our time. We have 20, 54, 45. So 45 being our seconds. Let's go ahead and console.log our seconds. And that's 12. And if I refresh my page, it'll be 15. So every time I refresh, it's getting the new second from right here. And notice the date constructor changes as well. So it's 20 right now. When I refresh, it's 26, and the seconds are 26. Okay? So we'll do the same now for variable. We'll do minutes equals date dot get minutes. Variable hour equals date dot get hours, or is it get? Yeah. All right. So now that we have all of our date constructors set up, we need to now relate the hand's movements to the change in our time down here. So every time the seconds changes, I want my seconds hand to tick. And so if you look at a clock, the degrees in between each number, so 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so on, the degrees in between each hour is 30 degrees. And the degrees in between each minute is 6 degrees. And that's just basic geometry. So we want our seconds hand to change 6 degrees every single second. And that will amount to 360 degrees, and it will be one loop around the clock. So if we go in here, back to our JavaScript, we can set up a new variable, and we will call it var seconds hand, and set that equal to document dot get elements by class name, and we'll be getting the seconds right now. So what did I call it? I called it seconds. Cool. So we're getting our seconds, and because the document.get element by class name returns an array, we need to get the first index of that array because there's only one value in there. Now we could also have just given our hands an ID of seconds, an ID of hours and minutes, and we wouldn't need this index of 0 right here, but I'm using class, so I need to use that index because get elements by class name returns an array. Let's just see how we're going to rotate our hand. So if we go back here, let's go to seconds and we'll do transform and we'll do rotate of 30 degrees. Okay, go here and refresh and it rotates our seconds hand. Let's go do another one. Let's do 90 degrees and it rotates at 90 degrees. Now, if you notice, it's rotating it from the center of the hand, and we don't want that. We want it to rotate from the bottom of the hand. So one thing we're going to do, and we're going to add this to our hand property, and we're going to say transform origin, and that will be center bottom. And what that will do is allow us to transform from the bottom center of our of each hand. So let's go ahead and do that transform property again. We'll do rotate of 30 degrees, and now you can see it's rotating the way we want. It's rotating from the center of the clock. And we'll do it one more time. We'll go 90 degrees, and there we go. We'll go back. Let's do one more. Let's do 150, and it rotates. So the transform center bottom makes it so that our hands will rotate from the spot that we want. So now we need to use that transform property, but in our JavaScript. And the way to do that is we're just going to be changing the style of our seconds hand. So we'll go seconds hand dot style dot transform is equal to, now we're going to set this equal to rotate, and so we're going to need to break this string up. So we're going to start off with the string and say rotate, and then add the parenthesis, and after that we want our second times 6, because there's 6 degrees every second. There's going to be 6 degrees that we want our seconds hand to rotate, and then we're going to add degrees after that, degree, and then our closing parenthesis. Okay, so if we go back and do this, you can see now our seconds hand is moving every second. So I'm refreshing the page. Now if I wait a few seconds now, and refresh, it jumped because the seconds kept on moving from that date function. So pretty cool, we're almost there. Now if we wanted to get that seconds hand to continuously move, we're going to need something else here. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to set an interval function. So we use the set interval function, and the function we're going to call is our interval. So the function we made up here. And every second we want our interval function to be ran. So we'll say 1,000 milliseconds. So JavaScript reads it in milliseconds. So set interval is going to call this function every second. And every second is the seconds will be a different number. So we'll go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to 60. And in here, we will rotate that second by 6 degrees. So if we go back here, we'll notice now that our seconds hand is going to be ticking, because every second our second changes, and every second our interval function is being called by our set timeout function. So next thing to do is just set up our minutes and our hours, and we're going to do that the exact same way we did our seconds hand. So we'll do minutes hand is equal to document.get elements by class name, and don't forget that get elements is get elements, not get element by class name. Get elements by class name, and this will be minutes of 0. We're going to need that index again, and then down here we'll go minutes hand dot style dot transform, and I'm just going to copy this string up here because I don't feel like writing that all out again, equal to that, and instead of the seconds we're going to add our minutes. And this min here will be the minutes up here, or right here. And it's still 6 degrees because every minute it ticks 6 degrees, just like seconds. So the 6 degrees will be the same for that. So if we save that and we go back to our clock, we now have the correct time. And just to show you guys what time it is right now, let me console.log the date function. So go down here, console.log date. All right, refresh, and our date is, oh my lord, 12. We're at the 12th minute right now in the hour, and so you can see it's 12 because it's almost 15. 15 would be 90 degrees. Okay, so let's go ahead and finish this up and do our hours hand. So we'll do var hours hand is equal to document get them by class name, and we're going to do hours and put the index there, right? And then we'll do hours hand dot style dot transform is equal to the string up here. Okay, replace min with hour. Now hour, that changes every 30 degrees. So remember, the distance in between each hour is 30 degrees, unlike the minute and seconds, which is 6 degrees. So every hour we want this to change 30 degrees. I'm gonna save that. We'll go back here. And notice we get the correct time. So right now it is 9:13, and our hours hand is pointing directly at 9 o'clock. Our minutes is at 13, and our seconds is just ticking away. All right, so that's pretty much it, guys. You can spice this up by maybe adding an image to the background of a clock that has the numbers, and maybe picking some better colors than me, because I don't know, if I work for Google, this clock might look okay. So yep, that's pretty much it, guys. That's how you make an analog clock using JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. And as you can see, it's really wasn't that bad. There's not too much code that we needed to write, but having a good understanding of how everything worked, you know, helps you guys with that. So, all right, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and message me if you guys have any questions.